One of the things that went on at that boarding house, other than the daily living and the food, but it was almost mandatory that we'd come to Sunday lunch. And so we did, and that's where I met Rachael. And I guess I just was sitting, I believe, and looked at her profile and that smile, and I think that kind of did it for me. And then from there, it was a whirlwind kind of a thing. And I think we spent about 3 months in that romance, and we got married on August the 15th, because that was somewhere in June when we first moved into a house. I worked for a company called Bryant, Atlanta, a heating and air conditioning company, and I traveled North Georgia and a little bit of South Carolina, North Carolina. And so from there, we started in, and I called on a lot of people that was in the heating business, air conditioning business, and I picked up a lot of experience, knowledge, and so on and so forth. So I decided we would go into business, Rachael and I, in heating and air conditioning. We did that, then we moved to Marietta, Georgia. We lived in East Marietta off of Lower Roswell Road, and from there, of course, we were growing up, and Debbie was growing up, and she was, this is a period of time of major growth. Kind of started in South Atlanta, East Atlanta, and then it came around to East Cobb, and then the Cobb County. So that was a period of time of massive growth. We did go on and was very successful. We had a little small office up at Elizabeth area of Marietta, and from there we moved not far away, but it was what I used to refer to over behind Coca-Cola Bottling Company, which is the Industrial Park, and that's where we're still at now. Now, Rachael kind of held this over me for a while, because she actually has seniority over me, because I had to give a notice to the company that I was at, and so she told me quite often she did have seniority over me. And I think one of the things that I learned early on, that we always got along, and there's no problem with that, because she let me know, and I found out who was boss, so we had no problems, very few disagreements. Rachael was invited to lunch by a couple of people, Joe Daniel and Ed Mulkey. Both of them, I think, was in banking at that time. So at that lunch, they talked to Rachael and said, you know, we've got, Earl has been very involved and successful with the arts, the Performing Arts Center, which is regional. So we would like for him to consider doing something local. And we would like for him to look and think about the Strand Theater, the renovation of the Strand Theater. I thought about it. She told me about the lunch and what they had asked about, and the justification for our being involved, since we were successful with the Performing Arts Center, and to do something locally, regionally, and especially the Strand, renovate the Strand. And she brought that to me, and she was very impressed and eager and happy to ask if we do that, if she and I would get together and decide that we would lead the effort to bring the Strand back. So we talked about it. We talked about what we could do and how we could do it, and I guess we really didn't delve into it maybe as much as we should have at the time, because it was a challenge. The Strand is Earl and Rachael Smith, or Rachael and Earl Smith. It was a joint effort, as quite frankly, everything we did, from raising children and grandchildren, the business, the community, everything else, it's Earl and Rachael. Earl and Rachael, totally.